Can I have those chairs being offered to the back? Uh, can you join this seat so that she can get a seat? No, it's fine. I'm talking about that lady behind you. To come to the right hand side.
Yeah, it should be the men pointing that out, you know.
Yeah. Thank you for that support, Minister. We are settled now. Thank you very much. You may continue, Minister.
So my apologies, Chair. I'm busy looking at the paper in front of me and not realizing women are standing. SA Express, as you know, has been grounded, but we are in the happy situation where all of the processes that are necessary to get it flying again have been concluded, and the first flights should begin sometime next week. So that's a huge achievement. Some people, I'm sure, are very happy that we
Yes,
now
indeed.
have it flying again. So let me take you through the slides very quickly. The first of the slides on SA Express give you an indication of their performance. And here again, it's a classic case of several generations, if you like, of either incompetent or distinctly, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but managers who lacked the level of integrity that was required. All sorts of funny contracting that has taken place around fuel and other facilities that I'll point out in a moment, all of which, if you remember my point earlier on about the task of the new board, the past, the present, and the future, have still to be uncovered and dealt with, and the individuals responsible also dealt with. But we will see some action in this particular regard in a very short while. The second of the slides after this one, which looks at the operational performance of SA Express, indicates the kind of decline that you've had in passenger volumes on the one hand, and the grounding that I've spoken of, and also we put together an intervention team, and I must tell you, Chairperson, that we had a real Tumamina team, where one big corporate lent us a senior executive free of charge for over 6 weeks, who was very familiar with aviation. Another retired executive who today is now the acting CEO of SA Express, Mr. Mzimela, also came on board free of charge.
It must be applauded. It's a really Tumamina.
So I'm sure there are many other South Africans who would like to volunteer their services in this kind of way, and that's helped us to have a very effective team on the ground, together with one of the DDGs who's been assigned and who now moves on to the presidency, who was there from I think about January this year as well. So we must thank her for her contribution as well. The next slide looks at the financial performance. So apart from getting all the licensing sorted out with the South African Civil Aviation Authority, we also face liquidity challenges in SA Express. And despite the fact that we have a 1.74 billion rand guarantee from government, there are challenges in terms of paying salaries. There are challenges in terms of paying for some parts, which are actually required. And at the moment, even after we get all of the current processes going, only 9 of the aeroplanes would be flying out of a total of 22. So you have a staffing structure to cater for 22 aircraft, but you actually have only 9 flying, and you can see the disjuncture between the two in some ways. There have also been, as you know, in the past, going concern challenges, and this committee has been given all sorts of assurances about turnarounds in the past. The high cost structure, which is a feature of many of the state-owned entities, is also something that plagues this organization as well. But as we begin to fly, then the revenue will improve, and that will begin to lighten the financial burden in some ways. But, and I'll come back to this point in the end, we've got to look at a more efficient way in which the state manages its three aviation outfits, Mango, SAA, and SA Express. As I pointed out earlier on, the last bullet point here makes reference to high levels of corruption or dubious contracts being signed in terms of fuel, baggage, acquisition of parts, and it involves both officials in SA Express but the private sector as well. You have a similar pattern again on the next slide in relation to the discovery of irregular expenditure, and the numbers are in front of you, and similarly in terms of fruitless and wasteful expenditure as well. In terms of the next slide, we have a new board, but what we don't have at the moment is a permanent CEO and CFO, but this is what the new board will begin to deal with soon. And we also have a deficit in terms of technically competent senior managers, people who actually have airline experience, can run an airline, and competently address some of the challenges that SA Express actually has. So if we look at the last few months and what has been done in summary, on the next slide, you'll see the appointment of a new board in May 2018 by Cabinet. The intervention team that I made reference to that worked with the existing management team, and now that Ms. Mzimela takes over, you'll see further changes in this regard as well. So she's the interim CEO and is willing to give us a few months of her time while we find a more permanent CEO for this position. There are initial discussions that have taken place with the SAA board, and a further discussion will actually take place tomorrow with myself and the DPE team. And we're looking for, if you like, quick saving mechanisms or synergies between SAA and SA Express. And already the two boards have agreed on certain joint committees that they will create in order to find areas of rationalization and overlaps that they can actually begin to deal with. Some of the other challenges that I indicated here is renegotiation of unfavorable contracts with suppliers. For some reason,
okay, you're watching, Public Enterprise Minister Pravin Gordhan there briefing the Parliamentary Committee on State-Owned Enterprises, some of the challenges, I guess, facing state-owned enterprises in South Africa.
He's been going through the different enterprises and the appointments and appointments of boards and senior management to make sure that the state-owned enterprises, the troubled state-owned enterprises, find a way forward.
Yeah, okay, let's take a bit of a break. The agenda will be back shortly. Stay with us.